Hello everyone, welcome to a follow-up video from me, Keith the Trastero Watabashi for Numot Gaming, to my Praxis video from a couple days ago. So, let's do a quick deck tech here. Go into ranked, do what I say. Alrighty, so there have been some changes since the original version of this deck, and you can see on the right side of the screen the original deck list, and over here is the new one. So right now we are in Diamond 1, and I got all the way to like 90 points and then hit a string of aggro decks and bad draws that dropped me down to Diamond 2 for a while. And I made some changes to the deck, and I really like the way this deck is going, and I'm thinking about playing it for one of the ETS tournaments, possibly this Saturday. And I kind of wanted to do a follow-up video to give my process for developing decks, and just kind of the thought process of how you should change a deck, when you should change it, and kind of some of the things that go into that. I am by no means an expert on this. This is my own personal view, my own personal experience, coming from years of playing games with varying degrees of success. But anyway, enough of that. So you'll see on the original deck list, it's a much higher curve and much more late gamey, grindy. And what you'll notice about the new deck is it's much lower to the ground and is a little more aggro, and the Mystic Ascendants have been completely removed. So a couple things. Warp is a great mechanic. I thought it was great when I first saw it. I thought it was great when I was playing with it early. I thought it was great in the video I made, and it has continued to be the best thing about this deck. Warp, basically, I hate top deck wars, and I hate games that degenerate to top deck wars, and especially in Eternal, this happens a lot more than you would think. Given the nature of the increased variables in a 75 card deck and the power level of the cards in Eternal, where most of the constructed games at high ranks are just bomb after bomb after bomb, haymaker after haymaker. You know, it's not like you have decks that have some setup, some synergy, and then, you know, 2 or 3 knockout punches that if they stick, you win the game. I mean, Eternal is just who sticks the bomb first and the longest, and if you and your opponent are going toe-to-toe on that, which usually what happens when you get to the higher ranks, when people have more legendaries, it just becomes about who lands the last bomb, more often than not. And that's, there's a whole other discussion about whether that's good or not, and I'm not going to get into it too much here, but that's one of the things I really don't like about playing Eternal right now, is because the legendaries are so powerful, it can really feel like you play the same game over and over where it's bomb versus bomb. With Warp, getting back to it, some of that randomness is reduced because you can play off the top of your deck, so you see a few more cards, and not only do you increase your chance to have action and to draw a business, you know, like some kind of spell or unit, it can help you plan your turns a little bit better. So if you're debating on how to play your power, or, you know, let's say you've got a Temple Scribe in your hand and a Noble Fire main with a Monument, you know, a Time Sigil and a Fire Sigil, you can play that a certain way so that you can either play this on turn 2 or this on turn 2, and if you know what the top card is because you've got a Warp card, then you can really make a more informed decision, and some of the randomness gets taken out, which I like a lot about Warp. The other thing about Warp is the pure card advantage nature of it, the fact that you just get to see those extra cards. So Warp has been great, and by far the best Warp card is Heart of the Vault. I think people are starting to figure this out. It was a pseudo hyped card when it was, you know, when it came out, and even though there was like an initial run of tons of Huru and Argenport decks, I think Heart of the Vault is starting to really work its way into the meta more as people realize just how good this card is. It's difficult to play, it's an awkward faction, but it's so powerful. So I love this card. So in a Warp deck that wants to be a little more aggressive, which this build of the deck does, I like this as a finisher over Mystic Ascendant because it comes into play quicker, in theory, because it comes off the top of your deck. It has a more immediate impact the turn you play it. I mean, Mystic Ascendant, you know, is a grindy kind of draw the game out card, whereas Heart of the Vault does something right away. I mean, that 2 damage is relevant, the card draw is relevant, and the reduced cost is relevant. So this is a great finisher and a finisher of choice. The other thing about this deck in particular is it really is a mid-range deck that is basically centered around Sandstorm Titan and Xenon Obelisk. I think I said in the last video in passing that this is basically a Obelisk Titan deck, and this is just the shell around it. And that's still true, and by like leaps and bounds, Sandstorm Titan and Obelisk are the best cards in the deck. So going back to how do I want to change the deck, I want to look at how can I best support this strategy of, you know, getting really powerful turn 4 plays and building off the advantage of that. And what I did in the first version of the deck was really focus on late game grindy things, and that was okay, and you know, we had a good run. But as soon as I started to hit more and more aggro decks, whew, it was really tough. So we wanted to get back to getting to the board faster, and instead of having the Titan and the Obelisk be setup cards for, you know, the late game, I wanted them to be more knockout punches after trading resources early. So the key was to figure out how best to build the early game. And I still don't think I've solved it, but adding things like Purify and Champion of Impulse and Oni Ronin have been fantastic at increasing the matchup with aggressive decks and making the deck function a little more aggressively and putting pressure on our opponent, and using Titan or Obelisk as a finishing blow with Shatterglass Mage and Infuser as role players for grindy games, and also just extra big units, and then Heart of the Vault is like the finisher if the game gets there, which it usually does. I mean, our damage is efficient, but not real fast overall. So some of the changes, so Dawnwalker is out because Dawnwalker is more of a grindy card. I mean, with so much Shadow running around and Varro's Favor, Dawnwalker is not as good as I want it to be, number one. And we got rid of Predator's Instinct because all our units now are smaller, and Predator's Instinct is a lot less powerful on something that costs 3 as opposed to a big 6-drop. So we made those cuts in favor of Oni Ronin, Acolyte over the Brilliant Discovery. This one I'm not real sure about. Amber Acolyte has felt kind of the same, because even though it does come out cheaper and you get the body, drawing only 1 sigil and not being able to play this off the top of my deck has felt different, and it has made the deck function a little more awkwardly with its mana and with its draws. But it functions smoother and faster to the board, which is what this version of the deck wants to do. So even though I kind of wish I still had Brilliant Discovery, Acolyte's playing a role in this version. I don't know if I'll keep it that way, but in the meantime, it's been fine. And Champion of Impulse, this card is a lot better against aggro decks than I thought. Because we have Temple Scribe, we do want to get that double time influence down, and we are a time-heavy deck. So this comes down as a 4/4 more often than not. And a 3-mana 4/4 blocks pretty much everything and trades with absolutely everything that comes out early. Quick draw notwithstanding. But this card has been really effective. Purify is kind of meh. This is mainly in here because of all the Mactos decks that are going around, and some of the life gain decks, some of the life force decks. This is just another answer to that. But overall, this card's very mediocre. The fact that it doesn't hit a player and can't deal with relic weapons or do a finishing blow is good, because if it did all those things, it would be way too powerful. But as a interactive spell, it's fine. It's not great, but it costs 3. It's cheap. It fits a role, but it's okay. You know, I might go back to a second Wasp, but Wasp isn't great when you're trying to constantly attack as opposed to grind out. This is a much better grindy card. And the reason for that is because even though it is an ambush flyer, 3 mana for a 1/1 is not really where you want to be when you're trying to be the aggressor. That's the thing. But when you're trying to trade resources efficiently, having a 3 mana fast answer to pretty much any unit that can also double as, like, you know, a ping damage is really, really good in a grindy game. But in this kind of deck, it's just not as good. So that's why we went down to 1 of these. So that being said, we're gonna take it for a spin. But real quick, I want to go over some of the sideboard stuff that I've been messing with, because if you play in the Eternal Tournament series, you get to have a sideboard, and the sideboard are extra cards that you can bring in after a game to make your deck more efficient against whatever deck you're facing, which you can only do in the tournament series, and it's a feature that goes back to Magic the Gathering. I bet most of you watching probably know what sideboard is, and you know, you've experienced that with Magic. So anyway, this is 30 cards right now because I'm kind of always tinkering with it. So some of the ways that if I wanted to keep improving this deck or make this deck more positioned against the meta, some of the things I would consider, of course, are Groundbreaker. Against the Life Force deck, this is a really hard card to beat. One thing about this, though, about Groundbreaker and its weakness against Life Force decks, which is also, I think, at this point, the biggest weakness of the Praxis deck, is how vulnerable it is to Annihilate. Annihilate is the bane of time, and it is so bad for our deck and so bad for no matter what version. You just kind of got to take it. So I wish this was a little more resilient to removal, because, I mean, it dies to Suffocate, it dies to Annihilate. Even though it's maybe the best answer against Life Force outside of Silence, it's really, really vulnerable. But I would still use that in a way to counter them, because if this guy sticks, they just don't win. Against, like, something that's Relic heavy, if the Clockroach deck blows up again, you can easily bring in Ruin and Shatterglass Mage. One good thing about this deck and Praxis in general is it has excellent answers to relics and attachments, because you have Ruin and Decay, which are the two best spells to get rid of relics, and then you also have direct burn damage with things like Torch and Obliterate, and then you have Shatterglass Mage now, which is just a really, really efficient answer to anything. So if you want to beat attachment decks and things that rely on relics, Praxis is absolutely what you want. They have great answers in that field. And over here is the sideboard I would bring in against a meta that got more control-ish, more grindy, more mid-rangey. You know, Mystic Ascendant, of course, which was originally in the deck, is great again in any kind of grindy matchup. Predatory Connoisseur is basically excellent against Combrei. It's one of the best cards against Combrei because it's bigger than anything when it comes down. You know, especially if you have a Obelisk, and it immediately kills something, and now you have this huge body. So it's just great. Like, I love this card against Combrei. I think it's so good. It's also good against the Legion, but not as much because of Cerso. But anything that's using time, big guys, Carnosaur is a great mirror breaker. And Marison the Eldest probably wouldn't play this. I'm just kind of tinkering with the idea of it. But in a late game grindy match, it's just a constant stream of threats. You know what I mean? And if you have an Obelisk down, it's making huge threats and can swing. It can end the game in like 2 turns if it sticks. But I don't know. We'll see. Some other things: Infinite Hourglass. If Primal gets really popular again, if Permafrost decks get really powerful, Infinite Hourglass just destroys them. So like Skycrag, this card's okay. It's not great for Skycrag because you don't really want to spend your mana to play a card that doesn't impact the board. You know what I mean? But it is good in that it really limits how they can answer your threats, because if they can't Permafrost them, they have to use their burn spells, and they're not going to your face, and that's great. So this is a good card against anything Primal. Refresh, I messed around with a little bit against aggro, even going up to 4 for a few games, and it was very average. It was good like once. I don't think I'll keep this in the sideboard, but that's another possibility just to counteract against burn. You can make, you know, your Aviasaur a 1/4 flyer, which is a great blocker, and it keeps your mana high. So it's not like the worst, but it's almost the worst. Granite Ring is if more token decks get popular, because our deck doesn't have a lot of Overwhelm. It has some with Shatterglass Mage, but overall, if your opponent can keep churning out chump blockers, it can be hard to get through for damage. So Granite Ring just blows it out of the water. I mean, you can play this, and you have your board of 4 or 5 guys that are all huge, give them all Overwhelm, and just smash for lethal. So this card's been good. Not great, but good. It's something that, you know, you would bring in a token-heavy meta, so we'll see. A second Scorpion Wasp. Again, if I was thinking Combrei is going to be really popular, or if I wanted to beat Combrei, I'd bring this in, because Scorpion Wasp is a great answer against Combrei. I like it better than Vanquish, because they can't use Protect or Stand Together against it. So this is good. Morningstar and Obliterate. If I was looking for a way to end the game a little quicker, if I thought I was playing against another mid-range deck and wanted more efficient damage, I would probably go with these. But we'll see. But overall, the deck as it stands right now is, you know, a little more low to the ground, still mid-range, with lots of options in sideboard and just tinkering for the meta to go a little more late game, a little more grindy, as opposed to the original version, which was a little more grindy, and you would try to find ways to adjust to a more aggro heavy meta. I think the natural curve for this deck is 2 to 6, and that's what you should focus on, as opposed to like 4 to 7 or something. One thing I hope you will note about this deck in the curve, which is one of the challenges of building this deck, is the 2-drop slot is pretty light, and the 3-drop slot is very, very heavy. These are the only good 2-drop units I would play in this kind of deck. There's absolutely nothing in fire. The warp cards that are cheaper and like charge, they're really not very efficient. That's not really what you want to be doing. And the other, I mean, all the fire high aggro cards, not really great. Rakano Outlaw would be fine, but it's really only good when you're attacking. And this deck really likes to have be versatile in when it wants to attack and when it wants to block. If you have a unit that is only good on offense or only good on defense, that's not really what this deck wants to be at. Oni Ronin is good on both because it's amazing offensively and it trades with any other one drop. And it's such a powerful threat that scales. It's usually going to eat a removal spell, or your opponent will trade with it aggressively. So it's, you know, they'll attack into it to offer you the trade just to get off the table. So Oni Ronin is good on offense and defense, whereas like Rakano Outlaw isn't very good on defense at all. So there's nothing in fire for 2, and time has some options. Like there's Bold Adventurer, which is just a vanilla 2/3. You know, there's Sauropod Wrangler, which could, you know, potentially ramp out my Titans and my Mages and my Hearts, but we're not really a ramp deck, and we just need our 2-drops to be relevant early and be relevant late in some capacity, and to basically be a stabilizing force that can be a threat later. And these are the only ones that do that really well, especially Firemane. I'm really surprised I don't see this card in more decks. It has been so great for me, and such an efficient unit at all points of the game. I mean, I really do love this card a lot. So you'll see that when this deck, you know, has problems with its curve, it's usually going to be between like 2 and 5, because you have so many things at 3. If you fall behind, it's, you know, you need to play 2 spells to catch up, and this deck has a really hard time doing that before turn 6. So anyway, I'll take any suggestions in the comments about what I should do on turn 2, or how I should change maybe some of the 3-drops to make it a little more versatile. But so far I like where we're at. And let's start playing some games. And well, first let's get rid of that. And let us see if we can't get back up to Masters, which we did last month. So here we go. Waiting. By the way, if anyone in the comments, or if you guys prefer more in-game sound effects or like music or something, let me know. I like these videos to be kind of straightforward, focus on the gameplay and my thoughts about it as opposed to external stuff. So if anyone has a strong opinion about like more sound or different production things, please put them in the comments. Otherwise, I like doing them this way. I like it being about the game and about how I play the game. So if anyone disagrees or thinks it could be better, I'm all ears for that. This hand's pretty interesting. I'm going to keep it. Being on the play and seeing as how we're more low to the ground, we have a great 2-drop into a great 3-drop. And all we need is a little more power to get there. We could not get there and it could be terrible, but we could mulligan into a much worse hand on the play. And I am perfectly fine with rolling the dice on this one. And we have a good curve, we just need to hit some power. And in the meantime, we have a decent blocker, so this is not an uncomfortable place for this deck to be. If we miss for like 4 turns in a row or 3 turns in a row, then we're going to be in really bad shape. Torch isn't terrible. It got Revenge. Oh, that's bad. Awkward. I think we'll just end the turn. Torch was probably our best draw that wasn't a power. Ooh. This guy has Revenge too, huh? That kind of stinks. We're just going to do that, and we're not going to block. Alright, well, that's not nothing. That's not nothing. So I think the race is on here. There's not much chance of me blocking this anytime soon because it has Revenge. And you know, with this guy having Revenge, if you kill it, when it comes back out, it's going to get another battle skill. So it's like, this thing only gets value from dying. So rather than me trade off for it and kill it, I'm going to make my opponent block with it. That's fine. I mean, it's not great, but I think it's better than more units being added to the board, frankly. So what are we gonna do here? Well, Titan will be great eventually. These are pretty dead right now. Torch will be good when the Instigator comes back, unless it has the War Cry. But either way, I think we're going to do this. And I kind of want to make another 2/2. This way, anything I block with later can torch and kill this. If I play it on the Fire Main and he kills the Fire Main, then I'm kind of low on effective units. But Fire Main is immune to Annihilate, which is tempting, which is the #1 removal spell you see in these decks. Although, if for some reason my opponent wants to Annihilate my Temple Scribe, leaving my Titan alone, I think I'm okay with that too. So yeah, we're going to diversify. So this is just a straight revenge deck, I guess. Ooh, well, that's not bad. Yeah, we're just going to always play the Warp card. I absolutely stand by that. Now we're going to make you a 3/3. And we'll say go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright. Well, now we know where the War Cry went. Not great. I think we just have to kind of stand by. I mean, one of the soul-crushing things about Warp is you know when you're not going to hit what you need to draw. So, that being said, that means we're at least 2 turns away from playing either one of our 4s. If we try to get aggressive, we kill this, and we lose just about everything but a 2/2, and we're left with a 2/2 and a 2/1. I think we'll hold back for now. That's just not. We only get through for 2 damage, and all we do is put these back in our opponent's deck. Sure. Another torch would be good. I think I am just gonna kill this. Let's see here. So next turn I can't play anything unless the top card of my deck is a Warp card, which would be one of the Armorers or a Aviasaur. Those are the only things I could. Those are the only cards I could play next turn for sure. And we know that because of Warp, because Warp is great. So that means no matter what, we're gonna use all our mana next turn, or we're gonna use none of it. And so we're just gonna kill this now, because if we have a Warp card on top that we want to play, it's gonna cost 3. Or that, you know, if we could play, it would cost 3. Okay, so I think now we just have to hold on and I guess hope we get the Titan down, since we did not quite get there on our mana draw. So given how our opponent has played this, I'm betting they have an Annihilate for Titan. And this means that we are probably not going to win. I guess they're afraid of Wasp? Yeah, maybe we have Wasp. I don't know, bro. Do I have a Wasp? How afraid are you of getting stung? Apparently not very much. That's the right play. Alright, well. Okay, Titan. You cost me a lot of Shift Stone. Let's see if you live up to it. I'm guessing not. I think at this point, our opponent has played this game in such a way that suggests they have the Annihilate. So there's a good chance that we are just dead here. If they don't... Ooh, they don't. That's interesting. I'm not sure. I guess this is fine because it pumps the Titan to block this, and it pumps my whole team. I mean, it doesn't change our situation that we're dead to a removal spell, so I'd kind of want to dig for more, like, maybe, like, Temple Scribes or extra Sandstorm Titans or my Wasp, because that prevents me from having to worry too much about the removal spell. But at this point, we can't beat one anyway, so there's no point to hold it back. and try to dig, because I don't think we're going to live long enough. Like, the other line is to play the Waystone Infuser and see if we can dig for... Well, that's pretty bad for us. Can't beat that. To dig for something that could interact a little better, as opposed to just playing this. But, yeah, not so much. Yeah, can't beat... I don't think we can beat this. Oh, maybe we can. We're gonna go to... I guess 1. Yeah, if we double block... No, if we double block, we go to 1, but we kill this. If we single block, we go to 2. Is there a big difference between going 2 or 1? I kind of don't think so. Yeah, either way, we're going to lose 2 units. So, because even if we double block with 2 3s and they only kills 1, this guy's going to kill somebody. So I think we do it like this, and we see what happens. Again, we're dead to any removal spell. If our opponent doesn't have a removal spell, they just wipe their board for us. But I don't think it really matters, because we're going to lose 2 guys and go to 1. I think it's better to lose the extra guy and go to 1 and kill the Scholar than it is to, you know, go to be at 2 instead of 1. I mean, what's that really do, right? How much damage do we have? 6, 9, 12, 16? Not quite. Oh, I didn't know that worked that way. Wow. That's pretty absurd, man. And it draws a card. Wow, that interaction cannot be the way it's supposed to be. That cannot be the intention with that one. Wow. So if you Dark Return a Revenge unit, it goes straight into play, and you draw a card. That doesn't seem how that's supposed to work. But whatever. That was pretty brutal. Well, not the best start. I'm not unhappy with that keep, though. I think we were basically 1 turn too late in drawing that. Otherwise, we would have been in pretty good shape to make a run. Because if we force our opponent to block as opposed to attack, it changes a lot of things in that game, obviously. We're going to mulligan this hand. The difference between this one and the other one is this hand is loaded with expensive cards as opposed to cheap cards. Ooh, this hand is not good. See, that's why I went down a rank, because all draws. I'm sticking to it. But this is not a good draw. Well, I suppose if we draw a power next turn, we can make a run at it. Like if we draw a power 2 turns in a row. It's not exactly the power we want, but I guess it's the power we deserve. Oh well. This is when you just sit back and watch the aggro do its thing. Alright, well, we cannot beat a Vanquish, but we absolutely do not win if we don't play Titan. This is our best chance to win. If he lives... ooh, our opponent must have a torch. That is my guess. Maybe they have 2 torches? We'll kill you. Oh, yeah. You're pretty far away from... So we'll just do this. Oh, no, never mind. No torch. That's not bad. I think we're better off just killing something. Like, playing the armor is not bad. That gives us 2 blockers, and if he goes in with everything, we kill 2 things. Our opponent does not have a torch, or they probably would have played it last turn. So I guess it's either Purify or the Armorer. If you play Purify, we for sure get the damage down. but we don't really advance our game plan. Yeah, I think we're gonna do this. So, again, we're kind of stuck with Titan holding down the fort, but that's what it does. I mean, it's a powerful, powerful card. I guess we can save the Wasp for whatever our opponent got the ambush on. Oh, they did have a torch. Okay, well. You wonder why you wouldn't do that first. Let's see, 2, 4, 6. We will kill you. We are dead to a lot of things here. Oh, there it is. We had our chances. Just too awkward of a draw. Torch. We are still dead, but just barely. Too bad. If we could have faded one more draw from our opponent, we might have had a chance. Seems unlikely though. Seems unlikely. Oh well. This video is not off to a good start. But you know, another thing about the games though, they're not complete blowouts, right? Like, we have gameplay, we have a plan. Mostly that revolves around Sandstorm Titan, but again, this is a Sandstorm Titan Obelisk deck. There is also a consideration about cutting the number of obelisks. This will be the second game where we are obelisk flooded. I mean, you really don't want more. You don't need more than 2 to win a game completely, and 1 is 90% of the time enough to swing it. So it is possible I could cut an obelisk for like a 4th Oni Ronin or another champion. The thing is though, you also want obelisk like every game. It's like this arguably the best card. Like, missing on an obelisk would just be so bad if that was even a possibility. So we might get lightning stormed, which would be a bummer. So do we draw now, or do we set up for the... We're going to set up for the obelisk. Like, if our opponent lightning storms, that's their entire turn, and then we get to draw a card next turn. And if they don't, then we get to start running out obelisks, which are really good. That's not bad. That's not terrible for us. It's not good, but it's not terrible. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and run these out. This is a good time to play obelisk because we're under no pressure. So as we set up for what's going to be, I assume, a pretty grindy, you know, tough mid-late game match, good to get the obelisk set up while we can. I think I'm just going to play the second one. And now we can just worry about playing to the board, interacting with our opponent's board with our units, and not trying to... Now we don't have to, like, quote-unquote, make time to play the obelisk. We just have it down. Let's go ahead and play this. Right now the plan is to just race until our opponent makes us block. Annihilate. Ugh. Worst card for our deck. And that's a good example of why, because we put a lot of value into our powerful time units sticking, and like a lot of mana. I mean, this costs 5, Titan costs 4, and then if your opponent can just get rid of it with 2 mana, you know, before they've even taken their turn, that's just so brutal. A tempo swing. Rhino, huh? This card's not too much of a problem. We can race it. This guy's a little bit of a bigger deal. Well, there's the Titan. Another Annihilate would be pretty bad, so I think we're going to try to bait it. I'm going to save Shatterglass Mage for either later in the game I have nothing else to play, or a Azindel's Gift, which has been showing up more recently. I mean, I guess Azindel's Gift never goes away, but it's showing up more now in the post-Omens meta. That's fine. That's fine. Hopefully we can get this Titan to stick. Wasp, ooh. Wasp is very good. But then I only do one thing, and playing Heart seems really good here. So let's attack with everything. Maybe not you. Yeah, I guess we'll attack with you, because we're not even close to using this guy. And I want to see if our opponent blocks. Probably not, I would imagine. If they don't block, we'll hold up the Wasp to kill the Harbinger. If he does block, we'll warp this guy. I might warp this guy out anyway. Just to get rid of the Aegis, maybe. I mean, this dude is so good. And it could entice our opponent to leave the Harbinger back to block. Yeah, we're going to do that. Hey, we can even play that. Look at that. Heart of the Vault. So good. Permafrost. No problem. So what do we got here? We can do 5, 10... we can attack for pretty much lethal if we use this, but then we can't play anything else, so we're not going to do that. Let's pump you and attack with everything. Oh, excuse me. Wow. But our opponent still hasn't seen Titan. Okay, now we're just going to kill you. So Oni Ronin looks pretty good here. Can hit you for 6. Nah, we're just gonna go big. If we attack like this, you take 6, you go to 12, and I have lethal next turn, but I unnecessarily lose my 4/4. I guess that's fine. This guy's not doing anything. 6 damage matters, and like. If they don't have another removal spell for the Titan, and that's not a big deal. Well, that makes the choice a lot easier. Just keep putting that pressure on. Kind of want to play Shatterglass Mage here instead of the Titan. I think I want to hold on to this. Yeah, and this is also immune to... oh yeah, I could have done that a long time ago. Forgot about that. I keep forgetting she can get rid of Permafrost. I guess it doesn't really matter. I was still saving this for gift, but I could have done that a long time ago. I don't feel too bad about... I mean, our draw was good enough that that mistake I made, or not realizing that I had it. But something to remember about Shatterglass Mage. Does get rid of Permafrost. It just rarely comes up. You know what I mean? That's okay. Well, now we're on the right path. And hopefully we'll do the math right, too, for our score. Because in the first video, I added a loss for no reason. And ended the record at 7-3 when really it was 7-2. I should have played one more game. Let's redraw this. Yeah, I'd like to get a game where I can showcase the champion. Here we go. This is exactly what we want. So 1, 2, 3, huh? We need to draw a... We're going to play... let's see. So this is actually a really interesting decision point right away, because... if we want to try to get champion as a 4/4 on turn 3, we should play a time sigil. That way, if we draw either a banner or a seat next turn, then we can turn her on turn 3. However, if we want to leave up torch so we could turn 1 torch our opponent, we should play a fire sigil, because this gives us an option to play any 2-drop we draw. However, half of our 2-drops are the scribes, which require 2 time sigils. So I guess we'll play a time sigil first, betting on us being able to play this as a 4/4, and maybe drawing a temple scribe that we can then play, as opposed to leaving up torch. But it's interesting how you want to how we can do that right away, because we could either leave up torch or set up for a turn 2 play. No punish. No punish. Like, a way we could have been punished there, kind of, is if we drew, like, a Temple Scribe and our opponent played, like, a turn 1 Oni Ronin. Because then they get the War Cry, and that would kind of stink. But luckily, it didn't work out that way. Seems like a good torch target. This guy is really good. I mean, everyone knows he is, but I'm just, like, reiterating. Dude is solid. Let's get in there. I'd like to start a warp train here a little bit, or draw some bigger guys. Against Huru, this is not a solid board by any means. Although we have a mage for that, so that's nice. Ah, that's what we're looking for. Okay. So let's attack. Let me get you down. 3 mana 4/4 seems good to me. Oh, our opponent's got mana problems. Can't say I feel too bad for them. Okay, this time we're gonna remember. And we're gonna pump our Heart of the Vault? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, we're doing it. Not that it matters, because that Heart of the Vault is extremely far away from being played. It's not very nice. But our opponent's on a rough draw, so we're just going to be as aggressive as possible. I'm still afraid of a Harsh Rule or Lightning Storm. Oh, no power. That's not bad for us. This knowing that's not power is interesting, because our opponent is now 1 mana away from a Harsh Rule. And if they Harsh Rule, we know that we have business on top. So we are somewhat resilient to a Harsh Rule, and that we'll get to play to the board right away. Unless it's another 6-drop, which would be unfortunate. But if it was a Heart of the Vault, we would know, because it would be warped. See? You get all this little extra info when you play a deck like this. Well, our opponent had a tough draw there, so not much to analyze there, but a good example of just how, if our opponent was able to answer us or was more interactive, having warp really gave us a lot of extra info that was nice. It's one of the best. That's one of the best things about the mechanic. Knowing what your draw is going to be informs every decision you make that turn. And, you know, most of the time it just lets you just play whatever you want, and then you have another draw. Like, you get that warp train going, and man, you know, I wouldn't say warp is like we'll play this. Once again, do we leave up turn 1 torch? I guess we do, since our first play is going to come on 3 probably. Although again, if we draw a Temple Scribe, I'm going to regret not playing the Praxis banner. But I like leaving up turn 1 torch. It can just be such a huge tempo swing. Ooh, and we are rewarded, kind of. Kind of. 1 turn too late. Oh, okay. We got a 3-color aggro deck. And we have that. Let us play... Well, probably no matter what I play, it's going to get killed. So I guess we will play you, because you are the most reward. Nope, it's going to live. Okay, so they might be playing the Overwhelm deck, which I guess I'll leave the Shatterglass Mage for. And I think we'll just play Champion. Yeah, I guess champion's fine. I kind of want to make this a 2-2, but I think just getting the bigger body out is better. Oh yes. Oh yes. Shatterglass Mage, you are my best friend right now. Kind of tempting to actually just start a warp train though, because I mean, so what if this guy gains a life, right? But cost reduction is extremely dangerous, so we're just not going to let that happen. And unfortunately, we can't make use of the extra power we got. Okie dokie. Ooh, Wisp, huh? Alrighty, let's make you a 2-2. And let me see, are we going to run into a Lightning Strike? That is highly possible. So let's make you a 5-5. And if only we had a torch, but we don't. Alright, well, not so much. Lightning Strike is not something you see really anymore, or right now, but just on the off chance. That's a decent blocker. Can we get through for lethal anyway? Block here, probably block here. Take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nah, not so much. But we're going to swing in anyway. And look, we got the extra one for the turn, so we can dump our hand, which is nice. And when you're playing against a deck where you have no fear of Harsh Rule, you just go hog wild. Who needs the Obelisk? That's a good draw from our opponent, though. Yeah, that's pretty good. Not good enough, but it's very good. Yeah, I've seen a lot of the Warp Praxis thing in these like 3-color decks, and some people pairing it with Cambrai. I think that's good-ish, but not great. I do like putting the Infuser into Cambrai because being able to play power off the top of your deck attached to a big blocker is great. But I think you really don't want to filter or water down the deck's power ability with these extra colors when Praxis is a greedy color deck in the frame. I mean, look at this hand. I mean, this hand is ridiculous as it is. Like, adding a third color to this just seems highly unnecessary. I'm not generally a fan of 3-color decks anyway. Ever since they changed the, ever since like Find the Way is the new and improved, quote-unquote improved or fixed, what was that called? What was that initial? The one from closed beta that was so busted. Basically, there was a card that was Find the Way, but it didn't deplete the power, so you could just go crazy and you'd have all the fixing you would ever want. When you had like 5 and 4-color specials, because why not? I don't really know how effective Shatterglass Mage is going to be this match, so I might just play Infuser. Like, against Rakano, Shatterglass Mage is so vulnerable to you know, Torch and Vanquish, and it's slow coming out the gate to kill an attachment because it costs 5. I'm not necessarily in love with jamming that in a couple turns. I think I'd rather go Infuser into Heart. But for now, let's play a Titan. And see if he lives. It's never likely in the early stages against anything with Justice that Titan lives. Ugh, silence. Gross. Ow. Ow. But now we have a chance to race. Our opponent is stuck on 3 mana, and we are not. So let's get in there. And then let's play Infuser and see if we have anything on top of our deck. We do. Already played a power this turn? Oh, man. Dang it. That's a bad one too, because that's not going to let us play our hero next turn, unfortunately. Okay, that's kind of gross. Ow, ow, ow. Yeah, we'll do this. I don't think it really matters. I think we're dead anyway. That's still 8, and we have no torch. So, unfortunately, we are a turn late. Because otherwise, we could heart and kill this and maybe try to survive, but no. Good game, though. I think basically just, again, you know, just the Titan being dealt with is too much. And we did lose to Valkyrie Enforcer, which is arguably the best card in the game. 3 and 3. Kind of the way it goes. I mean, this was like, this is the way the ladder is, you know? It's a 51% kind of game, so you just have to roll with it. You know, it's like when you have games like that, or when you're losing games like this, your immediate instinct is to be, I need more interaction, I need more answers, and that's not a good idea with any kind of tempo-y mid-range creature deck. Just keep queuing up games, it'll swing back in your favor. And you know, one of the strengths about this deck is it doesn't run out of action. It never ever runs out of action. I shouldn't say ever, but it's very rare. You know, the biggest problem is you don't have an answer, but you're not an answer-based deck. You're a threat-based deck, and I think that's always the better overall strategy, is to always be thinking about how am I trying to end the game? How am I challenging my opponent to have the answer or to have the threat, as opposed to I'm ready if they have this. You know, I think in Eternal, with 75 cards and with the answers being not nearly as good as the threats, with the exception of Harsh Rule and Annihilate, I think it's always good to be looking at, you know, what is the best way I can attack and kill my opponent. And, you know, if you like defensive decks, then think about what's the best way I can attack and kill my opponent in a way that fits my playstyle. You know, like if you're a control player and you like control decks and you're having a tough time on Eternal, I would recommend you play Combray. Combray plays a lot like a control deck, but it's also basically controlling the game through the overwhelming power of its threats, as opposed to the really, really suppressive force of its answers. Okay, this looks like we're playing against Armory. And if I had to guess, our opponent's building up for either a Runehammer or a Harsh Rule. So, how are we going to beat those cards? Well, we're definitely going to attack. Okie dokie. Okay, that makes me think our opponent does not have Harsh Rule. They might have a Vanquish, but they might always have a Vanquish. So what are you gonna do? Nothing. There's nothing better you can do in Eternal than play Sandstorm Titan on turn 4 onto an open board. That is always going to be the best play because he's just that damn good. That's kind of interesting. I really would like to play this, but this card is so good. We're just going to get in there. Okay, so Harsh Rule seems unlikely right now. This is probably that Makdos control deck. So they're definitely running Harsh Rule, but I'm going to assume they don't have it right now. Oh, Vara's Favor, so good. Actually, all the Favor cards are pretty good in their own way. Slay, whatever. You have slain my Titan. Oh man, see. Yeah, we're just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna hit you in the face. Although, yeah, if we had played Infusion, we could have got a power off our deck, but we also drew a card, so it's kind of the same difference. But now we have a giant body on the table. Impending Doom, interesting. Well, and the flood stops here, huh? Well, Well, if we attack, our opponent double blocks, and all we do is kill Impending Doom. That doesn't seem real good to me. I'd like to, but I don't want to give my opponent a chance to draw a removal spell. That's even worse for me. Like, if we don't attack, and we try to wait for, like, Obelisk, or, like, another Titan or some other threat, and our opponent draws a removal spell and kills it, and they get to keep their Impending Doom, that's really bad for us. And we already got value out of the Heart because it did damage and drew a card, and it killed an Impending Doom. And it's much more likely that my opponent draws a removal spell before I draw a relevant threat, just because of the nature of their colors. That's not bad. Okay, let's... What are we going to see here? We might see a Harshwell coming out soon. Because it's been a while. Oops, no power on top. Looking for an Obelisk right now. That would be really good. Well, speak of the devil. Any more Warp Train to go around? No, not so much. But this makes our turn much, much better. So we're going to hold the Titan back. We have lethal right here anyway, and if we go all in and we get Harshwell and we only have power on top of our deck, that's really bad. So at least this way, if our opponent sweeps our board, we still have something to play. I don't know what they were thinking about there, but okay. Ooh, and we even have a Warp card to go with it, so that's pretty sweet. Anything else for Warp? No. Just going to present lethal again. If our opponent has a second Harshwell, that's going to be rough. But better to present lethal. I mean, I don't want to give them the extra draw, right? It's one of those things where if they have it, they have it. But our opponent's only at 9, we're at 25. Our deck is much better at fighting the top deck war. I guess we just attack. It's fine. Because killing the Titan means that this guy gets to have flying now, and that makes it a much better threat. Yeah, there was definitely an option for our opponent to block the Aviasaur and in their head keep their maiden alive, but of course we have Torch, so we would have just killed it. That's slightly annoying, but I don't think there's anything relevant in there. No, there's not. They didn't draw any relic weapons this game. This deck is greedy, man. Oh my god. I mean, Impending Doom? I mean, I just say greedy because, like, he's got all... I mean, those are some pretty challenging... I mean, double Justice, you know, double Shadow. I guess maybe they're only doing one fire, so maybe it's not as greedy as I say it is. But it feels pretty greedy. It's pretty bold getting back the Impending Doom. Yeah, now our opponent has a chance to get back in the game, since we couldn't attack through it, unfortunately. Runehammer, eh? Alright. We are one Torch or Heart of the Vault away from winning, because our opponent's going to hit themselves in the face for one. Oh, wait, yeah, never mind. Uh-oh. We need to get some warp cards here. And we are not doing it. It's fine if he wants to attack in with the Runehammer, because then he goes to 3. If they play another Runehammer, that's going to be pretty rough for us. Nope, not so much. We will do nothing, I suppose. Well, sometimes you just get the 2 torches. But I think we were going to win anyway, because we can just... If they don't have a removal spell, we can just block. And they kill themselves with the Impending Doom. 4 and 3. Not bad, not bad. Try to salvage these last 3 games and finish 7-3. 7-3 for real this time, as opposed to the fake 7-3 last time. Interesting. We will keep this hand. We are on the draw, and we have a good hand for being on the draw with Sandstorm Titan, Obelisk, Heart, and of course Torch. We have pretty decent mana. We can hold up Torch first turn, or rather we can, if we need to, we can play Torch on the first turn, or we can set up to fix our mana for our turn 4 Titan, which I hope we do. And we have a lot of draws to get to that 4th power, or just to get to things we can play before turn 4. Like Champion. Exactly like Champion. Oh my god, are we going to get the turn 3 4/4 Champion? I think we are. Finally. Ooh, and we have a turn 2 Torch? Perfect. Okay, Champion, you are in here to fight aggro, and we are playing against the aggro deck. It appears to be, anyway, Skycrag aggro. This is your time to shine. Man, we even got the 4th sigil so we don't get punished for not playing the Acolyte. Life is good. And by the way, the reason for not playing the Acolyte there is I don't want to filter sigils from my deck yet because I want to get to turn 6, so I want to draw mana. We're just going to play Titan. And I'm not going to block here. It looks like our opponent has a fast spell, and more than likely that's a Torch. So blocking this and letting them play Torch would be really bad. And we are winning this race every time right now. Okay, now we're going to double up here. Yeah, we're just going to do that. Now we're going to play 2 units and start bashing. Oh, I forgot we get that. So we could have played this and... Nah, whatever. This is still the right play, I think. Because now we have Heart of the Vault. Sure. That makes me think our opponent might have a second Torch. Or just that. What are we going to do? We're going to play Heart of the Vault next turn. So we're going to shoot one of you guys and attack. Yeah, we will chump block. I do not want to go to 11. That puts me a little too close to double burn range. So let's attack, and then we'll get the extra power, and we'll play Heart, and that will set up lethal. I guess. There's also, like, what else can we do here? If we play Obelisk, that puts her out of, oh, no, it doesn't. No, dead to Torch anyway. Okay, yeah, this is fine. Sure. And we're going to hit you in the face. If we draw, let's see, 6, 7, 4, 7, and not enough. If we draw a power, we can actually get the Obelisk to 8, because we're going to have 5, 6 off the power, 7 here, and when she attacks, we go to 8. Out. Ooh, there we go. So with our opponent tapped out, this ought to be lethal. Yes. Oh, the tricks. Oh, that's how that works? Oh, well, whatever. Still good. Well, live and learn. It's not as nearly as cool as I want it to be. It's good, but not that good. And the champion stays on the table. Champion of cunning, earning its keep, man. That's what it's supposed to do. There we go. 5 and 3. No matter what, we don't totally embarrass ourselves. We go 5 and 5 at worst. Turn 3, 4-4 is good against Skycraig aggro. So far in the new meta, I think the most interesting deck I've seen is an Elysian Overwhelm deck. I just really like the way that thing played out. I mean, I had an opponent drop the relic that reduces the cost. This hand is a mulligan, but it's maybe it's a keep. It's a bit of a greedy keep, but we have a turn 2, we have a turn 3, and we have a turn 4. Yeah, no, I guess we can keep. Thing is, we can mulligan into much, much worse hands. So even though we don't have double time, we have plenty of plays. Our opponent played the relic that reduced the cost of all the overwhelm, and then they played the new 1/1, a false prince, and another 1/1 in one turn, and it was just absurd. And it was pretty cool. But I like that a lot. I like Overwhelm as a mechanic, and I like the gameplay it forces, and I think that relic that reduces their cost and gives you life is very cool. Clearly, Direwolf wants people to be playing more Overwhelm, because if that's not a pushed mechanic in this set, I don't know what is. We will just do this and do this. This way, next turn we can get Infuser down. Oh no, we can't online. Next turn we can play a 4 into 4. So if this dies, at the very least we can play a 3. Like, if it lives, we can drop a 4. We can drop the relic and then play the monument. And then if it dies, we at least have turn 3 plays. I knew I'd finish that thought eventually. You are... Maybe I'll play you. This is kind of like drawing a card, but we get to see the next card, which might be better than gaining life. Yeah, I think that's better. I mean, this is kind of the same difference. We're removing the top card of our deck, but Warp puts it onto the battlefield as opposed to in our hand, and it's got 1 more health, which might be relevant. Opponent's on turn 5. Yeah, we'll kill this. You can have the Warcry. If you're really low to the ground, Rakano, no matter what, my guys are going to be bigger than your guys, so I don't care if you get Warcries. Okie dokie. We really need to get this guy out, so let's draw. We're close. We're very close. This is, again, the problem with so much of the deck costing 3. We're behind. We can't play 2 spells in 1 turn. And the 1 spells we are playing are relatively low impact. Like right now, Infuser is just so good because it will block everything. Although Oni Ronin's not bad either. That gives us 2 blockers. Okay, I'm okay with that. So we're staying alive. Is our opponent finally going to miss a draw? They've had to play every turn. I mean, we have to trade aggressively because we don't have anything else to do. Like, we need to see as many cards as possible, so the more we protect our life total, the more we're going to do that. Okay, so next turn we get this out. Ugh, gross. But it's a blocker, and our opponent's out of Warcry, since that was the card they drew. Ouch. Wait a minute. Oh, because of all the bonuses there. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Do I want to take 8? No. I mean, I do. I mean, I don't want to lose my guy right now, because we are going to try to do something here. That's not it. That's not quite it. But that does help. Okay, so now we're in chump block mode. So we can jump block here, right? And then next turn we can play Hero of the Vault and double block and kill this. And then play the rest of our hand out and see what happens. That's the plan right now. Not the best plan, but it's a plan. We're going to shoot you. And say go. Need to fade a draw right here. Getting Obelisk reduced is actually pretty freaking good. Oh no, did they draw a Vanquish? I don't think I can beat that. If they drew a Vanquish, we can't beat it. Finest Hour would also be kind of bad. But no. Okay, we're staying alive. We're staying alive. If their curve goes all the way up to Obliterate, we're kind of in trouble. Let's play this. Oh, that's the best possible warp card we could have gotten right there. Oh my god, let the train begin. And we even get the life back. Still dead to Obliterate, so barring that, if this draw does not kill us, well, that's pretty close. This is actually kind of interesting, because we do have a bunch of burn. 3, 6, 7, which we could do. 6, 12, and then we don't die. Or we could just go, I think Obelisk is better. Yeah, so we take less damage. I think we go Obelisk and Titan. Or we could go Obelisk Familiar and get a Flyer. Yeah, but then we're still, no matter what, we're only leaving up Torch. So if we're only going to leave up Torch, I guess we'll play the Titan. Sure. We will start our turn. Yes. Get that warp train going. So we play this. And I think we just attack with, because we have 5, that's only 11, so not with you. We have to attack with these. Let's see what our opponent does, and see what they do. Sure. I think we will do this. And we'll leave up Torch for the dragon in case they come at me with the Soulfire Drake. We can torch it. That's not going to do it, buddy. We will just get rid of you. And the comeback is real. Yay! Making a comeback. Close. I tell you what, I usually only go 10 games, but if we're close to Masters, we'll keep going. I'm not going to sit here and grind a bunch of games, though. Like, if we lose this next game, that's going to be the end of the video. Because I'm not going to go back and forth. If we win, we'll play another one. Yeah, this hand's fine. It's a little clunky, because we're going to be playing an Oni Ronin on turn 2. And we're going second. But it's got a lot to do, and it has really good mana, so no reason not to. Ooh, I take it back. Turn 1 Oni Ronin. Maybe that's the best thing you can do in Eternal, is play an Oni Ronin turn 1 into an open board. That seems pretty hard to beat. And no Vara's Favor? Oh man, how can we lose? Not that I mean that, universe. Don't take that as a challenge. I'm sure I'm sure I'm sure fate could find a way. Oni Ronin with the stick. These guys are like brothers, right? They look very similar. Oh my god. Okay, this is totally happening. We are absolutely doing it this game. Let's just keep it going. Let's make a 3-3. This is getting precarious, though. If our opponent harsh rules us, we are in bad shape. Well, I shouldn't say bad shape, but they're not quite low enough where starting over is an option. Ooh. Yeah, we're going for it. I think if our opponent had a removal spell, they would have played it already. I don't know if they really were going to wait that long just to harsh rule. So, like, if they had, like, an Annihilate or something, I think they would have played it on the Oni Ronin, because Oni Ronin's just that good. So, we're going to force them to draw into it. Which wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they haven't played much, and, you know, every removal spell under the sun is in these colors, so why wouldn't they? They might have another harsh rule. They might have drawn one. So I'm going to save this, because this is, I guess, okay. If they have one, if they don't have a spot removal, because if they did, they certainly would have played it. So what they got with, that means having 2 threats is better than 1. Even though they easily could have got a harsh rule off the quarry, and this is going to kind of be painful. Oh, Mokto. Interesting. Well, in this case, we should win, because either one of these hitting is lethal. Get torched. All right. All right, we might have to keep going. We're pretty close. I think that's 1 win away. So we'll do one more. 89. Yeah, I think if you get 11, I think you get 11 points per win. All right, here we go. Final boss. Acid Abuser. That's not a good thing to be. This hand is a mulligan. This is just not nearly enough action. I like the fact that it has early interaction and an early play, and it has perfect mana, with some protection against flood because of Amber Monument. Ooh, am I talking myself into this hand? Okay, if we keep drawing power, we're going to have a play on turn 3 and turn 5 with nothing in the middle. But if we draw any business, we'll be able to play it. Okay, I talked myself into it. We're going to keep it. I mean, our deck only has 26 sigils, I think, and not a lot of search things. So having perfect mana is very good. And if we didn't have the monument, that would have been a snap mulligan. Yes. Don't mind if I do get that off of my deck. And Warp does let you play a little greedy with your heavy power hands, because if you flood into your hand, you can at least play stuff off the top of your deck. So it's kind of like having the card in your hand to deal with the flood, right? Ooh, into an obelisk? Don't mind if I do. Or do I want to keep up Torch? What's going to happen here? This is the Overwhelm deck, I think. So Torch is probably going to be pretty good. Nah, this is a good time to play Obelisk. We're under no threat. And, you know, we get to 5 power. I'm going to want to be playing a lot of guys to the board. So getting Obelisk down now is a good thing. Oh my god, can we get to 5? Oh, sadly, I don't have Torch up. That's okay. Okay, well, this thing is not going to be long for this world. But, anyway, let's do this. See, now I kind of want to keep Torch up. But I think Racing is just better. This is not bad. We have this to deal with the... What is this thing called? The Horn. And then we have a Wasp for any kind of bigger unit. Oh, man. This guy's taking my tech. Do I want to destroy his? I think I do. Let's attack. And Yeah, let's get rid of that. Cost reduction is just so dangerous to leave up. I mean, obviously, right? Do I want to trade here? Good question. Probably not, because I can just torch this next turn. Conduit. Yeah, that kind of hurts. But we have double torch, so it hurts a little less. Alright, let's play this. Okay, so we double torch this, we hit you for 10, and you go to 11. And we have 5, 8, 9, 10, 11. We were showing lethal. Yeah, I think that's fine. It's too bad they got rid of my obelisk, man. That probably would have been lethal. False prints and false prints. Sure. The warp train is just not happening. We're going to attack. How much is this? 10, 15? Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, I think we have to attack. Sure. Okay, that's 10. That's a big deal, because now we can take this hit and go to 2. Which maybe is not great, just because of they might have their own torch, but I think they would have played it by now. Man, 2 false prints. Wow, really? We're just going to play this. Oh man, this is not a good time to flood. Go ahead. Where are our big guys? We need our heart. Heart would be good. That's not bad. Doesn't really do anything, but it's another body. Okay, now we can attack for 1. I wonder if our opponent runs Lightning Storm. That's not unreasonable to expect in this deck. Oh, he got to his heart before I did. How's that for a deep statement? It's not bad. Let's have you attack for 1. Let's have you get me a power. And let's play Titan. This game is very close. If we can get to another obelisk, we'll be in good shape. It's really too bad we lost that. Ooh, double heart. Gross. That's not too bad either. What do we have? 3, 6 attackers. This is interesting. If he lives, we can use him twice and attack for a bunch. If we pump now and attack with Titan, we don't do anything. Like, we could use him now and attack with Titan and Mage. And we probably kill this and one of his hearts. Then he has this and this. I think that's probably correct. I want to force the issue, and I think we do this. So he blocks, like, one of these guys blocks here, and he double blocks here. Or he might just block, and well, either way, he's going to lose one of his overwhelm. So do we want to attack with the... No, that's just a free. We can't do that. Whatever we attack with, we have to trade with. Sure. I mean, we're trading, you know, a 4 mana for a 6 mana. Yeah, it doesn't matter which one he blocks here, because the only interactive spell in our deck is Torch. So, I mean, they're both dead to Torch. And this is, if we double pump next turn, if he doesn't have another blocker, I think we get there. Oh, that hurts. Oh, 3 hearts to our 0 is pretty good. Oh my god, our opponent just went off. Ah, that's brutal. I think we had a chance this game, except for that. That was rough. Yeah, so much for Masters. Oh well. Really, it's just that we flooded at that point in the game, which was really unfortunate. Like, we were playing power and our opponent went heart, 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 heart. Like, they played 2 hearts, and like, it was just that's just too hard to come back from. But we almost did. And of course, it's the game for Masters that is where you're like, you can taste it, but fate doesn't quite get you there. We are dead. Just for, you know, because, but to be fair, I think we played as well as we could with that draw, and I think the keep was correct, and our opponent just absolutely ripped into some insane top decks. Of course, I mean, they should have, because they played a bunch of hearts. Like, heart off the top is the one of the best things you can do in top deck war, so, oh well. I guess we'll call it a video there. We are very close to Masters with this deck, and I'll probably keep playing this until I get to Masters. The main thing with this is I do think I want to play this at one of the Eternal tournaments, and I like the way it plays out a lot. I mean, again, what I like is that it really forces your opponent to come up with something. And, you know, if they get it, they get it, and even if they do, you have a chance to fight back. I mean, in that last game, we were playing with all the second best cards in our deck. I mean, we only drew, you know, 1 Titan, 1 Obelisk, no hearts, and like no champions for a nice early game kind of attack. And we still were very competitive. You know, the deck is working well. It's a lot of fun. It has lots of good decision points. So yeah, I guess that's it. The deck is great. I think it's a lot of fun. You should try it. It's kind of a different way to play Eternal, just because Warp gives you so much more information than you would normally have. And I think this is the best version of Warp. I think the 3-color versions are really greedy. I mean, again, not to like, you know, not to be salty, but in that last game, our opponent was putting so many demands on their mana. You know, I mean, the fact that they had a fully pumped champion of Fury early with the mana to get, you know, multiple hearts going, along with, you know, False Princess and then a Wisdom at the end. I mean, that's really greedy. It's unlikely that that's going to consistently be the draw with that deck. So I think if you really want to push the Warp mechanic and push the tempo aspect of Warp, I think a 2-color version is the way to go, and I like my version right now. It's definitely not as powerful as some of the other versions. Like like our opponent's deck was just fundamentally more powerful with more powerful cards. But again, I think our synergy is just on top of it. And again, if our opponent didn't have the removal for the Obelisk, we would have won that game easily. Or if we drew a second Obelisk, but it wasn't meant to be. Anyway, thank you for watching. This deck has been a lot of fun to play. These videos have been fun to make. Please leave any questions, comments down below, any suggestions for the future of these videos, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.